Before the 20th century, even a small cut on your hand could be a death sentence. Diseases like pneumonia, syphilis, and tuberculosis killed millions without mercy. Soldiers during World War I often survived gunshots, only to die from simple infections. And then, one ordinary day in 1928, something extraordinary happened. A scientist named Alexander Fleming returned to his messy lab after a vacation and noticed something unusual on a petri dish. What he found would change the course of human history. This is the incredible story of penicillin, the accidental miracle that saved over 200 million lives. Born in Scotland in 1881, Alexander Fleming was quiet, observant, and deeply curious. He studied medicine in London and joined St. Mary's Hospital as a researcher. His area of focus? Bacteria and how the human body fights them. Fleming wasn't a conventional scientist. His workspace was cluttered, disorganized, and often full of old samples and dishes. But in science, sometimes chaos leads to clarity. He believed that nature held answers medicine hadn't yet discovered. And he had a reputation for being both stubborn and brilliant. But even he couldn't predict that a moldy dish left unattended would make him a global icon. It was a late summer day in 1928 when Fleming returned from a 2-week vacation. On his workbench, he found a stack of petri dishes where he had been growing Staphylococcus bacteria. But one dish looked different. A blue-green mold had contaminated the dish, but around it, the bacteria had disappeared. Something was killing the bacteria, and it wasn't the lab conditions. Fleming examined the mold and identified it as Penicillium notatum. He tested the mold juice and discovered it could destroy a wide variety of harmful bacteria without harming human cells. He had discovered the world's first true antibiotic, and he named it penicillin. He presented his findings in 1929, but almost no one paid attention. Why? Because although he had discovered something powerful, he couldn't turn it into a usable drug. Penicillin was unstable, hard to extract, and decomposed quickly. He lacked the tools and technology to purify it or produce it in large amounts. So for a decade, penicillin sat, mostly forgotten. But that would change when World War II broke out, and the world urgently needed a miracle. In 1938, 2 Oxford scientists, Howard Florey and Ernst Chain, stumbled across Fleming's old papers. They realized this mold could save countless lives on the battlefield. Their team worked around the clock to extract and purify penicillin. During the early trials, it cured mice of deadly infections overnight. The next challenge? Mass production. With support from the US government and pharmaceutical companies, factories began growing penicillin using tanks filled with mold. By D-Day in 1944, penicillin was available to every Allied soldier. Before penicillin, infections like pneumonia killed 1 in 3 people. After penicillin, the survival rate skyrocketed. Childbirth became safer. Surgery became more common. Soldiers survived wounds that would have been fatal just a few years earlier. Hospitals transformed. Life expectancy increased. By the 1950s, penicillin was being mass-produced around the world. It marked the beginning of the antibiotic era, a revolution in medicine. It wasn't just a scientific discovery, it was a turning point for humanity. But there's a dark side to this miracle. Overuse and misuse of antibiotics have created a modern nightmare. Superbugs, bacteria that resist treatment. Every year, 1.2 million people die from antibiotic-resistant infections. Even Fleming warned about this in 1945, saying, "The time may come when penicillin can be bought by anyone, and ignorant people may easily underdose themselves." His warning has come true. Today, doctors and scientists race to find new antibiotics before we return to the dark days of untreatable infections. The story of penicillin reminds us that great discoveries can come from unexpected places. A forgotten petri dish, a curious mind, a second chance at life for millions. but it also reminds us that science must be used wisely. Today, we owe our lives to a messy lab, a moldy dish, and a scientist who paid attention to something others ignored. If you found this story as inspiring as we did, give this video a like, drop a comment below, and hit subscribe for more world-changing discoveries. Until next time, stay curious.